All right, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
All right, my name is Gus Wood, and I'm going to be your MC tonight for this great event. So on behalf of the organizers of Build Programs, Not Jails, I would like to welcome you to this public forum on the future of the criminal justice system in Champaign County. Before we begin, I would like to hold a moment of silence for the life of Freddie Gray and others lost forever at the hands of police violence. I would also like this moment to recognize all of those engaged in struggle in the Baltimore Rebellion. Police violence, an appendage of racial inequality, is a historical component of this country, like mass incarceration. But resistance is an even stronger component. For the rest of our lives, every day we open our eyes, we must remember that it will take the collective will and the collective power of all of us to topple such a monstrous entity. Human lives are at stake. Liberation is in our grasp. Let's take a moment of silence, please. Thank you. So again, I welcome you to this great event sponsored by the Build Programs, Not Jails group. So let's go ahead and get started. We have a lengthy agenda. Speaking for Build Programs, Not Jails, the main organizers will be Evelyn Reynolds and Dottie Burr Weiss. So they're going to talk about the history of the program itself and what we're planning to do.
Thank you, Gus. Everybody, young and old, for being here. This is great having so many people. I'm going to say a little bit about Build Programs, Not Jails, also known as BPNJ, give a brief and very oversimplified history of what's been happening around criminal justice in Champaign County over the last 3 to 4 years. And then Evelyn Reynolds is going to talk about the present and future and the idea of envisioning change. BPNJ is a group of community members from Urbana and Champaign who believe that Champaign County should invest in the safety and well-being of our people, not by spending a lot of money on construction of new jail space, but by supporting programs that address the underlying needs like mental health and substance abuse treatment, education and job training, and re-entry programs for those coming back to the community from jail and prison. The flyer on your seats, the trifold flyer, gives a little more background about our organization. So here we go on the history. Back in late 2011, early 2012, County was getting ready to hire consultants to make recommendations on jail renovation and expansion. But through community pressure and with strong and effective advocacy by then board member Carol Ammons, instead they commissioned a study of the overall criminal justice system and also set up the Champaign County Community Justice Task Force to provide advice. Both of those groups recommended measures to decrease the number of people in jail through use of constructive programs and a lot of changes in procedures, and also advised setting up a racial justice task force to address the overrepresentation of people of color in jail and the impacts on their families, which extend beyond those individuals in jail and beyond the time that they're in jail. If you're interested in seeing more details about that, it will be posted on our website by tomorrow. We have a comparison of what was in each of 3 different reports, and it's really pretty consistent in terms of restorative justice, community sanctions rather than jail time when sanctions are needed, and a whole lot of other constructive things. Okay, so that was 2012. In December 2013, having reviewed the reports of these boards, of these consultants, the county board voted not to fund a jail expansion and to provide a small amount of money to develop a re-entry program. So it seemed like we were heading in the right direction. And actually, I moved here, and I thought, well, hey, this is a progressive town making good changes. But just 6 months later, in June 2014, The board contracted with a consultant for recommendations on renovation and expansion of the jails with new facilities for the Sheriff's Department. Over the next several months, members of VPNJ attended numerous meetings of the county board, and some of those board members are here and they know that we were persistent. We went to the facilities committee and we advocated for addressing the underlying issues at the board meetings and also by meeting with individual members of the county board. In February, those consultants that had been chosen back in the summer recommended spending a total of about $32 which would require raising taxes and probably submitting a bond measure to the voters. A number of the county board members recognize that the price tag is too high and that programs are needed to address the underlying issues, and that will also save money in the long run. So where are we now? The decision on the jail seems to be on hold while they review all of the county facility issues. But we've learned that we need to continue to monitor the situation, or jail construction may be raised again and voted on without much publicity. Meanwhile, the county has applied for a MacArthur Foundation planning grant to explore ways to decrease the number of people in jail and address the racial disparities. The county has also applied for grants to fund an expanded reentry program. But as always, when you apply for these grants, it's a real question whether you're going to be able to get any of the money. And so one of the things that's going to be really important is to let the county and city officials know that we as a community really think it's important that they follow through with this, whether they get the grants or not. And there are a number of elected officials and county staff, including some in the Sheriff's Department, who are working to make constructive changes. But this is a process that really needs continued community involvement. I'm going to quote from Dominique Stevenson, who works on criminal justice issues with the American Friends Service Committee in Baltimore. And I quote, "We must work to end police brutality, but we must also remove the veil of invisibility that allows conditions of inequity and oppression to exist for so many." Part of our job here is to lift that veil so that other parts of the community see what's happening, how it all impacts people who are impacted by the current criminal justice system. And this is basically the reason why we decided it was time to hold a community forum, involve more people in the issue, hear your ideas and your thoughts. Everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. We really look forward to hearing your ideas about how we can reform criminal justice in our community and heal and restore the damaged parts of our community. One of the areas that Build Programs Not Jails has really thought a lot about and tried to implement is mobilization efforts. So we try to figure out ways to connect with members of the community because this is such a vibrant community. We have so many intelligent, skilled, experienced people in this community. So we're trying to figure out ways, get these people together and share some ideas and think about some alternatives to incarceration and how to prevent people that have been released from jail from going back. How to prevent recidivism. And so this mobilization effort is really important, and I'm so happy that you guys are here because no voice is insignificant. Every voice should be heard, and everyone has something valuable to contribute because we're all impacted by this issue, either directly or indirectly. Another thing that Build Programs Not Jails has tried to bring to the light, we continue to talk about this and to ask for the statement of a racial justice task force. Because the issue of race in relation to mass incarceration can't be ignored. There's no way to resolve the problem of mass incarceration if we ignore the racial disparities in our criminal justice system. And this task force isn't going to require a lot of funding. This is something that we can do with virtually no, money. We need just some people to get together and be dedicated to this task. We need to look at racial profiling. We need to look at the laws and policies of the criminal justice system and how they're enforced more specifically. We need to look at biases in the criminal justice system. We need to restore and repair the relationship between police and community members. All of these things are so significant. So I really look forward to hearing your ideas on how we can get this task force together and continue to fight for its implementation. You can see me after the meeting if you want to get involved in the Racial Justice Task Force. There's also a sign-up sheet in the back. Thank you again.
All right, so really, if you really want to get involved, the table is in the back, and I tell you that, just being in this community for such a small amount of time, just seeing the type of work that Build Programs Not Jails and Champaign Citizens for Peace and Justice, the type of work they do, it's incredibly, incredibly liberating that these things exist in this community. So if you really want to get involved and you really have a burning desire to really help the people out, please see anybody and sign up in the back. I'm telling you, it'll be one of the best things you ever do. So coming to the stage now, we have Clever Knox. Born and raised in Illinois, 24-year-old MC Clever has been circulating the state throughout the last year, becoming a crowd favorite and leader among her peers. She is no stranger to low places and finds bravery in getting personal with her audience. Since graduating from the University of Illinois, Clever has released 2 full-length projects, The W8 and Golden, accompanied by visual work and performance. In projects to come, Clever aims to spread her sound to as many ears as possible, addressing her audience with honesty, positive energy, bass, and of course bars. Here's Clever.
I would like to first thank Patsy and James for having me tonight. I appreciate it. Normally I would have some music, but I don't. So I'm gonna do an a cappella piece for you guys tonight. But before I get into that, I just want to say that I'm also happy to be here because my mom was locked up for most of my life. So like at very critical points in my life, like 5 to 10 and 12 to 16 and stuff like that, she was locked up. And there was only at one point where they allowed her to have rehab instead of going to prison. But she's been to prison probably 3 times and has been to jail many, many more than that. And to this day, she still struggles to survive here in Champaign as far as, paying our bills, having a good job that she enjoys, not being depressed, and really finding people who are good for her. So I just say that her being locked up all those years was really just a waste of time. And it affected me and it affected my brother to this day. And although I turned out okay, I know that that's not always the situation for everybody. And I'm very, very happy to have my father, and he is a black man, and he was the one that raised me. So the system doesn't only affect black men. My mom's white, so yeah, it affects everybody, and I'm very happy that there's programs like this in place to start attacking these issues. So, the song I'm going to do today is called High Priestess, and if I could get some crowd participation, a slow clap would really help for me. So like a little slower. A little faster. Sorry. Trying to catch the beat. Okay. I'm prepared for this family. Wait, that's not gonna work. I don't think that's gonna work. Maybe I can catch on after I start rapping. Okay. I'm prepared for this thoroughly. I'm aware that I'm heir. I inherited authority. His story, my author. So I demand more showstoppers and soap operas. She deserves your respect. If you a perv, I'ma swerve, I'ma serve as a threat. If you ain't heard of me yet, good talk is cheap. It's an auction, you can pay me what it costs to speak. It's exhausting but awesome and often brief. Unless I'm off the reef, and it's hard to see, and it's hard to breathe, and it's hard to swim, and it's hard to read, but it's hard to skim. These are our dreams, this is our skin. You were born free, you were more than them. So ignore the greed, with a fortune. If you war with him, then you war with him. If you war with him, then it's more of us at the origin. Organizing warriors. We know all about the L's, they've been curving us. They were nerding us, now we hit the ground journeys. We know all about them cell blocks and cell stocks. We know all about them slave ships and jail pops. Why they always trying to train a nigga hell down? Why they always trying to claim a nigga hell no? Oh my, I don't care, don't care, don't cry. All my life I've been like you. I like you, and I like you. But you see, like without me, I can't breathe. Yeah. Then I piss you off, you piss me off. And I get drunk and lifted off these streets. And I get drunk and lifted off these streets. Yeah. I'm exactly what you need. White, black, and American. Red and blueberries get picked for embarrassing. Brown bodies, why you scared of them? Because we bear strange fruit. My veins like ruthless fruit and arrogant. It'll be a Michael Jackson thriller full of niggas once you bury them. Very grim. Leave you tongue-tied, cherry stem. Summon the police, fuck your terrorism. They ain't rest in peace, now they very slim. Mobbing in the street, black Samaritan. Raise fists, loose wrists, some carry limbs. Some been out of reach, some impaired. We in the second saga in comparison to the 60s, had a risky, but it's real. Record a tank from the city of Chicago. Watch the PD switch your man on my 70 mile per hour flow. Ain't no webs from here. If I'm riding, I'm right here, I'm riding, I'm certified. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm just trying to. Can I do that one more time? Without the claps? Okay. That's kind of throwing me off a little bit. All right. They did. Y'all did excellent. Y'all was all on. It's just not how I prepared it, so that's my shortcoming. I'm sorry. White, black, and American. Red and blueberries get picked for embarrassing. Brown bodies, why you scared of them? Because we bear strange fruit. My veins like ruthless, rude and arrogant. It'll be a Michael Jackson thriller full of niggas once you bury them. Very grim. Leave you tongue-tied, cherry stem. Summon the police, fuck your terrorism. They ain't rest in peace, now they very slim. Mobbing in the street, black Samaritan. Raise fists, loose wrists, some carry limb. Some been out of reach, some impaired. We in the second saga in comparison to the 60s, had a risky, but it's real. I'm gonna take from the city of Chicago. Yo, watch the piggies fix your mess on my 70 mile per hour flow. Yeah, I ain't no west, I'm here. I'm here, that's all I got, y'all.
Big shout out, Heather again, y'all. Big shout out. Give it up. My favorite time being in her presence and just hearing her lyrics, and she's really talking a lot of great stuff. And I really just appreciate her effort, her passion. It's amazing stuff. So if you are really feeling clever a lot, she is taking donations to help her move forward. For different types of studio equipment, so you can get with her after this and just show support for some really live artists that are really trying to do some things. So next we have Tamika Davis coming. Tamika is a member of First Followers Reentry Program. She will speak to us about her personal journey and why she is involved in reentry work in the community today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Let me throw me a little beat. Let me throw me a little I'm over here too, y'all. Understand, I don't know how to. Good afternoon. It is a great pleasure to speak to you tonight, to tell you my story and to talk to you briefly about my organization, First Followers. We are a re-entry program serving people who are returning home from prison. We also work with families of people who are locked up, trying to keep people together through hard times. We are new just over a month.
You all right?
I want to tell you a little bit about why I'm involved with First Followers and why I see this as so important to our community. I like to think of First Followers as part of my North, the direction where I want to travel. I have gone other directions in my life. While driving east, I ran into a lot of things, darkness. So I continued, but I never looked up to see really where I was going. Then all of a sudden, I started going west. That's where I bumped into the gang banging, selling drugs, fighting, not loving myself. The saying goes, the west side is the best side, but not for me. I ended up going south, straight to hell, known as prison. I faced down 10 years to life. I knew that going in the wrong direction would have consequences and repercussions, but I never dreamed of anything like this. Everything I had done was speeding towards me. The speed limit says 30, but everything was speeding at me at 100 miles per hour. I have no brakes to slow me down. The emergency brake doesn't even work. Time for me to think. Okay, 4 kids. How are they making without me? I'm grabbing my hair, I'm screaming out, hello. But I'm on this road alone, looking through the rearview mirror. Nobody's there. I am screaming louder. I hear a voice, but I can't follow it because my mind is racing. I hear the voice again. I'm looking everywhere, but still can't find it. The judge said, I'm sending you to 121 months. I'm counting fast, but can't find enough energy to pull out my hands. Everything stopped. I could only hear my heartbeat. My breathing went shallow. I fell to the floor and screamed, oh Lord! I looked up and knew then that God was my North. My real journey had just begun. I went to federal prison for 10 years and 1 month. Still had my bad attitude, that gang bangers mentality. But inside of prison, I met a whole lot of great people. Maybe you thought everybody in prison was bad. They're not. I learned a lot, and mostly I learned to love myself and Jesus, and I studied His Word. My heart was sincere. I got my GED and lots of other certificates. I was still headed north for 23 months before I came home. DCFS took my children. The fork was now in the road, but I stayed strong. I took a 500-hour drug program, 100-hour parenting class. I knew these classes would help me get my children out of the system. On April 29th, 2008, 7 years yesterday, I was released from prison. I thought, thank you, Jesus. But then came the bumps in the road. Trying to find work left me confused. Everything had gone to the computer, but I came from the paper. When you fill out an application on paper, it was very confusing. I couldn't get an ID. I started to filter, but I had my mother, my sister, and Jesse. I kept going north. I got off federal parole a year and a half early. I got a job at the university. I am now living with my children. I had gone through these prison gates in 2000 as a lost girl, but I came home a woman and a woman of God. I fought 1,000 battles and I am still standing. I've cried 1,000 tears and I'm still standing. This is my journey. But I know I am not the only one who has gone down this road. Many people in our community have headed east, west, south, everywhere but north. I have come to First Fathers to help others to find their north, to get their lives together after going through the hell of prison, after spending years hating themselves and their lives. If we build a strong and healthy community, we need community. We need programs like First Followers. We are all voluntary, and we need more people to step up and take action. If you have a felony conviction or have a loved one in prison, come work with us. We will travel our bumps in the road together. We are at Bethel AME Church, 4th and Park in Champaign on Tuesdays and Fridays from 1 to 5 p.m. Lastly, I want to say that we cannot take this journey alone. We need our county to think about finding ways to support our efforts instead of spending millions on jails. Jails don't build community, people do. Let's move ahead. Let's all head north together. In closing, I would say, prison, either you find yourself or you lose yourself. Jails, they are built. But inside of this jail, once you are inside of this jail, then you are released. You are released from prison. What help did you receive on the inside to help you become the person that you could be if you dug on the inside? That means searching your soul. If you search your soul, you can find what you really want to be. I searched my soul on June 23rd of 2004 is when I learned the different things about myself. I sat on the bench locked inside of prison, but even though I was inside of prison, my mind went outside of prison, and that's when I really learned to love myself. I reached for another higher, but everybody got different beliefs. I reached for God. And God turned me around. I was fighting. I had a felony on my record from when I turned 18 years old. And to this day, I can go fill out an application and it's still on there. But I'm a changed person. I'm changed. I'm not that person anymore. I don't gangbang anymore. I try to settle people's differences, even when it's my children. And everything is hitting close to home, not just inside of the Black community, but all cultures. These children are out here on mollies and different kind of weird drugs that we've never heard of. So how is it that we can step up to help them instead of just throwing people in prison? What is the resources that we can get to help others? How can we get them to renew their minds? How is it? What about the drug rehabilitation programs? What about counseling? It's just things that we all need to think about before we spend $20 billion on a jail or $20 million on a jail. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamika. Next up is Truth. And just to introduce you to Truth. Truth is a local MC from Chicago and is part of a collective paradigm shift. She has been manipulating language since age 7, and only after her time at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign did she realize her passion for art and music. There she joined the organization Word, and from then on the stage became her counterpart. Since graduating in 2013, Truth has been solely focused on transforming her passion into a career. With music focused on social issues and everyday life struggles, she has opened well-known musician activists and educators such as Invincible in Motion, Dr. Bettina Love, and world-renowned poet Nikki Finney, who she also collaborated with on her most recent project, Eve. Truth's performances include venues in Chicago, as well as the 10-year anniversary of the Mocha Girls Summit in Miami. That's a typo. Mocha Girls focus on women of color that use their genius to empower girlhood youth. So everybody, please welcome Truth.
Thank you, people. Thank you, thank you. First off, that was a very touching story, definitely. A little bit with my relation to this. My younger brother was incarcerated about 2 years ago, and I was still at school at the time, and that just really boggled my mind at the time. And coming from a single parent home and stuff with only a mother, it was something that I didn't know my family could take and go through without breaking, but we got through it, and he's been home now for about 8 months now. But it is a struggle, like you said, it's definitely a struggle, but he is coming back to live with me, so I will definitely be getting your contact information, okay? So this piece is pretty much me getting a call home from my mother telling me about, the cops busting in our house and grabbing my brother and all of that, and it's called Scared Ones. Police storm in with a warning. Was they telling him or was it an informant? No matter the case, they bust in, dismantled our place, trying to put my baby bro out to space. Wait a minute, I'm doing clever. Hold on. I'm nervous, I don't know why, I'm sorry. Police storm in with a warrant. Were they telling them or was it an informant? No matter the case, they bust in, dismantled our place, trying to put my baby bro out of space. So now we looking like what it's gonna be. I'm looking both sides and it was on me. Hard enough to see the face of a mother uncovered crying, trying to figure out why, but it's hard. We see it day in and day out. Same thing, different day, and I don't wait out. It's hard enough looking in the face of a hurt soul. What about looking in the face and seeing it's only old? 18 years old in the system, caught up, don't know if we gon' really make it, we don't know. So we harding out. I'm trying to figure out what is this all about. Say it's hard enough trying to get out. I say it's hard enough trying to get out. Hey, scared ones. That's what you see now, man, the scared ones. Scared ones hold guns, but they never shoot. Scared ones ride chains, but they never roost. Say it, go. Here we go. Scared ones hold guns, but they never shoot. Scared ones wear chains, but don't know the roots. What really is the issue? They don't see the progress moving, we gotta think too. Like what are we really doing to get them out? Like what are we really doing, like word of mouth? We gotta go face to face and uncover the stories. Know that it hurt, but it's really getting glory. Look further than what you see in the news story. I know you worry, me too, we all out here going back and forth. It hurts more. Walking down the corner store, wondering what is my life worth. Man, it hurts so bad. Don't know if I'm waking up, glad, upset, or sad. It's going back and forth. The pendulum keeps shifting. I don't understand this mission. What they doing is retention. They want you to last in the system. Get caught up and now you stuck with no mention. Gone, just like that. Blink of an eye. Probably get you too. And it don't matter why. The melanin is gonna get you caught up. You know it's true. But we just trying to understand that it's impossible. No, it's not. We got something more to do. It's between me and you, all of us, and you know it's true. So if you hear what I'm saying, make sure that you know. Because if you don't, then we really got no place to go. We trying to make it. We trying to. We really got. We got to do it together, and this is where it starts. Couple meetings together, talking and making more. What is we saying? We got to do more. It's about action. That's what it really is. It's about action. That's what it really is. My little brother, he was going through it. And I know it, man. I was standing there holding him through it because it's hard enough hearing that heartbeat on the phone with your mom. She can hardly speak, crying to me. And what I'm supposed to do here on campus, while she talking about lawyers and what I'm going to. I even had to go pay some lawyer fees. And what is this, paying for lawyer fees at 18? Jeez. It hurts my soul to know about what some people go untold, and it's crazy. But it happens every day, and I hope what you hear, what I'm saying, is more than just a day. sure it's more. Don't just leave out with a mention and just go and store. So if you hear me, really hear me, then understand what we doing and gotta say it clearly. This is the time and it's right now. I said this is the time and it's right now. We gotta make change, gotta make change. We gotta make change, gotta make change. Thank you.
And now, our friend and our state representative, Ms. Carol Ammons.
Thank you. It's back, maybe. Perhaps. I'll speak loud, I'm sure. Can you hear me? No? I think Dottie broke it when she was It's a little challenging, but I won't touch it. Thank you. Thank you all for coming out this evening. Thank you to the organizers, meal programs, not jails. Thank you to all the young people who are in this room, along with their elders who are in this room, because that is exactly what is necessary for us to bridge this gap. I want to thank the members that were on this wonderful stage before me, to Dottie, who laid out the history, and to Evelyn, who's come along, which is great, to assist in this process. And Clever's talented work, Tamika and the Truth. It's a great way to start that, right? Because we do need young people to use their talents to help us tell the story. And so I appreciate what they have done here tonight. I'm going to start with the end in mind. I do want to acknowledge my former county board colleagues who are sitting in the back there and thanking them for taking the time out this evening to be here. It really means a lot because we also need them to solve this. And thank former State Rep Naomi Jacobson for staying engaged with us around these issues, because she has some experience that we'll be able to use and draw upon for the real challenge that is going to be ahead of us. I'm going to start with the end in mind, and I'll repeat it at the end. I'm going to read the end of my speech now. And lastly, my fervent encouragement of all is to us, our citizens. Nothing in government will improve unless you get involved. It is your tax money. It is your laws. Those are your schools. Those are your parks. For it is your land in which to be free. You must keep those you choose accountable at all times. Better yet, why don't you run? I look forward to seeing this community that I've come to love so much, and I don't mind losing my mind to it. This is such an important time that we are in right now. And many of those who are in this room who was working with us over the previous 2 years to gain this office, to continue to work on behalf of this community, they understand that the issue of criminal justice is truly at the heart of every single community in this state, in this country. I ran for this office because I know there was tremendous work that we needed to do, and I was willing to make the sacrifices to do it. But to meet those needs, we are going to have to gird our loins in a way that we've never done before. This title is talking about criminal justice in Champaign County in the future. But I think it's a broader issue than just Champaign County as a county in the state of Illinois, in the country of the United States of America. The state is under massive financial debt. Debt that many of us didn't have anything to do with the creation of, yet we are asked to certainly bear the burden of. Our flagship university is under assault in a way it has never been before. Tuitions and fees are skyrocketing. People are unable to afford to come to a public institution of higher learning so that they have an option for themselves and their children in the future. We are suffering under major dismantling of social service programs like nothing we've ever seen before in this state. And the criminal justice system is a part of that system. I have certainly been paying close attention to our governor's turnaround agenda. When we start using words like turnaround, you have to ask ourselves to what? What are we turning around to? Today we had a much needed caucus, as Naomi knows that sometimes the speakers say, this is it, we need to caucus about this. We had a very important caucus today that really highlighted for us what criminal justice will look like if we allow this turnaround agenda to go forward. Champaign County is like every other county who's trying to figure out what the best method is to address the unfunded areas that really need to be funded. Runner's 14-15 fix destroyed many services in our state and locally as well that serve the most vulnerable population. This is what he considers to be a turnaround agenda. Part of his 15-16 budget says that we should invest more of our money in public safety, which means jails and prisons, and less of our money into all of the other critical services for children with disabilities, families with little income, low-wage earners. Working class people should not have the right to collective bargain so we can drive the wages down. This is part of the turnaround agenda. He wants to take your money, not increase taxes at all, and shift it from social service program to the criminal justice system. That is the turnaround agenda. What do we do? What are we facing? What are we looking at? We can't look at the jail in small scope. We have to look at it with the big scope. The jail is an aspect of the criminal justice system. As I served on the county board, I served on the task force that was looking at the jail system that around its first research process that myself and James Kilgore and Lynn Branham and some of the other professors and researchers looked at the system as a whole and said we have a greater problem than just the jail. Surely we can't spend all of our money on jails because we'll continue to do that from here to ever. You'll never have a big enough jail. Jails are never big enough because at any point, state legislators across this country can write a new law or increase enhancement penalty and put more people in jail. That's really how it works. This session, the first session for me, some of that work that we were doing was trying to prevent enhancement bills coming from our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, many of which would extend lengths of stay, increase penalties for different penalties for different crimes, add some additional ones, 1,000 feet from a school if you, as a gangbanger and you're a known gangbanger, if you're talking to someone, that's a felony now if you're 1,000 feet from a school. These are the kinds of things that are coming out. Even though we're saying in 2025 we want to reduce this prison population by 25%. If your public policy doesn't align with your mission, then obviously that is not your public policy. The biggest crime that we've experienced in the United States is really the criminal justice system and its disparity against people of color and poor people. We know that we've never effectively dealt with the issue of race in the United States. There are scholars across the street here at this university who are well-known scholars throughout this world who have already studied, analyzed, and researched that very point. So it's not something that is shocking to hear or for me to say. We know that when we look at penalties and punishments from our criminal justice system, they are race-based and they are based on economics. People with less resources have less opportunity to bail themselves out of county jail when they are arrested for whatever penalty that might be. That is a known fact. The biggest crime that we face is that people get longer sentences based on their race in this country. We know these are facts that have been studied by Stanford, Yale, and Harvard for many years, that people have seen in controversial circles over and over again the proliferation of laws that would ensure increased populations in prisons based on privatizing those systems. Putting them on Wall Street is a good example of the public policy to exploit poor people and people of color. Information on race in the criminal justice system is as easy as a Google search. Doesn't take much. But if we look at it, we have to look at what is happening in the long term with the system. We have an overproliferation of drugs and drug laws that we know are feeding the police stops, that feed the arrests, that drives the bail, that feeds the legal representation system, the jury selection system, sentencing, prison parole, and then freedom. There are many people in this room that can verify that. So I wanted to look at a few things that will drive the decision-making of the policies at the county board and hopefully at the state to decide not to do things like reopen TAMs, which I got earlier today, and which is a bill that came through the Senate and is headed to the House. The idea of reopening TAMs as a torturous facility that costs someone of $90,000 per inmate with very few inmates in the system. Why do we do that? Because there's an economic loss in a smaller community for which TAMs is located. The United States has seen a surge in arrests, putting people in jail over the last 4 decades. Most of the reasons for this is the drug war. I cannot be clearer in saying that most of the things we see happening are drug related. And a good number of those are small possessions. People who've been caught more than one time fall victim to 3 strikes, leaving judges without any alternative other than to follow the laws as they currently stand and give mandatory minimums even for small possession charges. We do know that people in the community, white and black both, engage in drug abuse or offenses, possession sales, roughly comparably at the same rate. According to a report on race and drug enforcement published by the Human Rights Watch, African Americans comprise just about 13% from the last census, and 14% of monthly drug users, they are about 37% or more now, arrested for drug offenses, even though we do know that people use about the same rate. We know that that is one of the major ways to keep things being needed, like building larger facilities. Because if it was just about facilities, we would simply build one that's comparable to the one we have, and we would move on. But that's not what it's about. The police stop blacks and Latinos at a rate higher than that of whites. I looked at one in New York, since we had the last killing of our friend in New York, where people of color make up about half of the population. 80% of the NYPD stops in New York were blacks and Latinos. When whites were stopped, only 8% of them were frisked. When blacks and Latinos are stopped, 85% are frisked, according to information from the NYPD. This drives the over-proliferation of prisons and jails. African Americans are arrested for drug offenses from 2 times according to whites and 11 times higher for African Americans. This is what's driving the prisons and the jails. If we looked at our drug policies in this country, we would see a dramatic change in the number of people who are incarcerated today. Once we look at our system, then we have to be honest about what we need to do as policymakers. We can't continue to go on and follow the lobbyists who are concerned about selling lunch meals to people in prison, bars of soaps at inflated prices, poor food, things that people write me letters about on a regular basis. We have to begin to be honest about what is driving our desire to incarcerate more of our population than the entire civilized world. Holding some 25% of all prisoners in the world in the United States. And a good percentage of those folks are there because of drug offenses. For us to be civilized in our country, we should certainly be able to come up with better policies, since the research has already been done. Even when we decide to release someone from prison, then we have a parole board that's only released, as of last year, they only released 3 people who are elderly at this point, who have served long sentences, who have serious, very serious medical problems at this point, and the state cannot afford to care for them in prison. One of the things that is bankrupt in our state is the Medicaid program, because we have something called MCOs in between the people and the health care. All of this is going to feed our criminal justice system. Because if we let people out of prison with no health care, they cannot get an ID, as she described her dilemma trying to just get back into society. We continue to write policies based on whatever the person may have done 50 years ago. We still write those same policies today to make roadblocks in front of their reentry. Our community is asking for some courageous leadership on this issue, because we know that if our governor decides that he, in his proposal to eliminate social service programming that really helps our entire community, many families will have no recourse, and they will do things that will lend them into contact with the police and the criminal justice system. So while we have an opportunity, as many of the speakers have said before, through poetry and just through their facts, we have an opportunity that I believe the county board has taken up. I believe they have taken seriously this initiative to say, wait, let's look at what is a reality for our community, not what other people may drive us to do. We have to stop putting all of our people in jail. That is just some of you have watch the media reports. And I sat this morning with a Republican colleague whom I really, really like a lot. She's a wonderful person. But her community is dependent upon TAM's reopening. And I said to her, it is very difficult for me to sit and have a real dialogue with you about employment on the backs of poor people, those who are completely cast out of the society, and say that we're having a legitimate conversation. I would love to see your community think of ways to build industry in your community so that your community can work, because I believe we all should be able to work. But at what cost are we willing to do those things? Sometimes people just have to say that to you. And she thanked me for saying that to her. Because even with the community downstate, many of them very poor communities, so left out of the system, as many of us have been. But we've been divided based on skin color, race, and geography. Chicago gets this and everybody else gets what's left over. But we have to think in terms of those communities downstate really need economic development. But what does that look like in a state that are prison profiteers and want to continue to open more and more prisons and jails instead of building, growing, developing businesses that are legitimate for those communities and they can be proud of what their families do. Poor white people and people of other ethnicities are subject to the same systems that we all are. And for so long, we've been divided on this issue. We have to come together as a community now, because I believe the greatest assault to democracy is happening right now at the state. What do we do? I'm an activist for a reason. I'm an organizer for a reason. I believe that Dr. Martin Luther King said, we as a nation must undergo a radical revolution of values. A radical approach to the U.S. criminal justice system means we must go to the root of the problem, not reform. Yes, we passed great bills that I'll share with you that are kind of giving a haircut to the system. But the reality is that we've done nothing more than simply put it down slightly below exploitation. It's not better beds and better prisons that we need. We're not called to only trim the leaves or prune the branches, but to rip this unequal and unjust system out by the roots. We are all entitled to safety. I believe that we're all entitled to safety. That is our human right, and we have a right to expect it. We have to provide resources for children so that they are not left in the streets. Chicago has 2,200 summer youth jobs. Did you all hear that? Chicago has 2,200 summer youth jobs. We have none in Urbana and a couple hundred in Champaign, out of almost 100,000 people, and how many of them are youth? Clearly, we need to do better. I believe that it's time for every person interested in justice and safety to join in and really dismantle a system that has not benefited the United States. It hasn't benefited Illinois, and it certainly has not benefited Champaign County. To build your economic basis on people with little resources or none at all is a system that we should not uphold. We should immediately decriminalize drugs like marijuana. this, and it was really interesting because I said, you are so experienced with this, Leader Lang, and I know you're working on this very huge reform on marijuana. I said, how long is it going to take you? He said, Carol, it's such a big deal, it's going to take me about probably 4 years. We're going to fix what Colorado has problems with, but we're going to get it done. We need to do that. We need to look at ways to implement restorative justice in our criminal justice system. It is difficult for a person to come out of prison or jail with little resources and less education than when they went in. If you want public safety, you have to invest in that.
Right.
So the work that EJP does is critical in Danville corrections, because people come out of there with a skill, with education that they can use and build upon. If we do not invest in those critical resources, we are not providing public safety. We know that is a fact. The more education you have, the better you have your society. And the more people are locked out of that, the less safe you are. We have to have a fair educational system that is not based on how much money you have, how much you can pay. We need a fair medical system. So many of our people coming out of jails and prisons, part of their problem is they got mental health issues that have gone unresolved. They have not been treated, nor have they been diagnosed. And we've not invested our resources to help them. We know that there are many solutions that have already been done for us. And I appreciate the governor's focus, really, on making a real criminal justice look, I don't know what they're going to do, but look at how to fix our prisons and jails in the state. Because we know that the less justice you have, the less safe you are. I'll say in closing that I've been really privileged to work on a few really, I believe, very important criminal justice bills that have come to the House since my 100 days of work. But to advocate for those things have been really, really important. So I'll share a few of these bills with you. One of them, of course, I talked about just getting rid of the marijuana criminalization and doing away with that. Representative Cassidy filed a bill and we passed it in the House, House Bill 218, which reduces criminal penalties for persons possessing less than 15 grams or less of cannabis, as well as drug paraphernalia, which is really important because some people will go to prison for drug paraphernalia, and we know that that's true. It's over in the Senate right now. We also wanted to make sure that it required automatic expungement of records twice a year by law enforcement for offenders. So if you've gotten 15 grams or less, and we reduced that penalty, but now you have this arrest on your record, we want that arrest to be expunged, and we're working, I know Aaron is working with our county circuit clerk here to make sure those expungements are done in a timely fashion. Because people can't get a job sometimes just for being arrested. We also wanted to reduce sentencing for first-time non-violent offenders. This was a huge one and brought quite a lot of conversation. However, it's important that we begin to really chip away at what is feeding the mass incarceration system. And a lot of people don't want to use that word, but when you have upwards of 3 million people incarcerated, that seems to be mass to me. House Bill 430 is sent to it was brought before the House. And unfortunately, everybody was not on board with reducing that penalty for first-time non-violent offenders. That bill is going to have to be reintroduced because it did not pass. But we did work on a couple others that did pass. One final one I want to say, there was a bill for juveniles that really took up the issue of charging juveniles as adults. Now, this is a very important bill. It did not pass because the idea, again, we're talking about what's happening with youth and young people, right? If you have a young person who, I have a 13-year-old who I know is not mentally developed yet to make certain cognitive decisions. The science supports that. And when they commit a crime, they should have known. And therefore they charge them as adults instead of as juveniles, which enhances the penalty. That is a really huge issue because most countries, most of the civilized countries don't do that. And we have a long-standing record of doing that in this country. And some of our wonderful colleagues have been really working on this before I got here. It didn't pass, but it will be reintroduced. We did a few bills that are awaiting in the Senate that are really important to the work of our communities, our county, our cities. Urbana has done a great job with this, and Aaron and some of the other people here in this community have been working on re-entry, giving people an opportunity to go back to work. But some of the rules that are at the state level preclude them from being able to do that, and you can't work in certain positions. You can't get certain certificates so that you can work. And so House Bill 494, called Helping Rehabilitated Offenders to Return to Work, is in the Senate now. Hopefully it will pass the Senate. But it's dealing with most of the drug possession charges, other things, misdemeanors like prostitution, indecency, those kind of things can be removed from that person after 7 years. Many people have been out a long time and still cannot return to work because they are blocked from things like that are still on the books. Amazingly, people who have been out for a long time can't seem to still get a job because the records that should be really closed after a certain time, they're not. And so there was an opportunity to try to also pass a bill to reform that. Again, it has not passed. Why? Because the beginning of my speech was that we need you guys to get involved. The greatest thing that you can do is to advocate for your neighbor. And these are the type of bills that you're working on to make sure our jails and prisons are not overflowing with people, because these need to be put before other legislators who may not agree with me, and sometimes they need to see your position. We tried a couple other things that are in the Senate. So House Bill 3149, criminal record sealing. This again is really trying to give people an opportunity to return back to work, because the most productive thing you can give a human being is the opportunity to contribute to their families and to their communities. Without that, I truly appreciate every person who's come here tonight. Coming back, and I just really watched too much news today, which I should have done this morning. But I am glad that we are here tonight saying that this is an important topic for our community. What happens with our county jail, what happens with our state prisons is going to affect all of us. If we decide that building facilities like this is more important than a youth summer job, in reality, we are saying to those young people that we intend to fill that prison. Because a person with no job, no money, no opportunity will find yours. That's really how it works. And we want people to not have to go to those extremes to eat, to live, to take care of their children. We are responsible for providing opportunity for others. And so I hope that with all of those folks before me, that you've received something that will make you say, I'm a researcher, I can contribute. I have some experience in working with youth, I can contribute. I'm willing to do something to make sure our county board members know we are here to support you so that we can get a solution that makes sense for our county and that we can invest into the lives of our community. I hope our city council members who are here will take this as part of their civic engagement in their service. That the best way that we can help our police departments is to make sure that they are trained to respect the citizens in their community. I'll close as I started. And lastly, my most fervent encouragement of all is to us, to our citizens. Nothing in government will improve unless you get involved in it. It is your tax money, it is your laws, those are your schools, those are your parks. This is your land to be free in. You must keep those you choose accountable at all times. Better yet, you run for office. I look forward to serving the community that I love so much, and I don't mind losing my mind for it. Now, thank you so much for all of those truly who have inspired me. Many in this room, amazing, amazing work together. And I'm okay, if you're okay, defending me when I stand on the floor and represent the position of our community against this kind of encroachment into the lives of our citizens and their denial of their rights and their freedom. I hope you will stand with me as I continue to go forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol. Just before we open up for questions and comments, just a couple of points. One of the things that I love so much about that particular presentation and speech was the idea of the people. You know, one of the things that we have to emphasize every time I speak, one of the things that I can tell you through historical trend is whenever the people get involved in something and collectivize their will, nothing can stop them. It has never happened in history where something stopped people when they got together and fought for something. It has never happened. We have to take this time, and we have to take ourselves and really take into account the kind of system that we're in. There is something inherently wrong with this system when we have violent crime dropping by the double digits, but mass incarceration continues to increase. There is something wrong here. We have to address the problem as what it really is. Economic resources are key. That was the other big part of the speech. We have to make sure that we press different public officials and we take accountability for ourselves to press them about putting economic resources in our communities. That is where the basis for everything starts, is a redistribution of wealth. Once that happens, there's nothing that can stop us in the country. I guarantee it. Nothing can stop us. So I'll be brief because I want to hear your comments and thoughts, so I'll just cut it off right there and open the floor to questions and comments. So let's have it. Excuse me, everybody in the back. We're still in the program now. Please be respectful. Thank you. All right. Yes.
I'll try to keep this brief, but I wanted to say, first of all, hopefully this is far and away from the speaker. First, quickly, why I'm here, not just here tonight, but in this community. I originally come from Evanston, from Chicago. I came down here in 2005 for school, and I happily kind of got sucked into this community because my family grew up in poverty. My biological father was really abusive. We were let down by the system time and time again. But I saw, like, the first neighborhoods we lived in, figured out it wasn't some strange anomaly that we were the only white family. And I watched it, even as hard as my family struggled with times where we had to choose between food and medicine, go without utilities, go without enough food, that we would take these risks, and we would rise a little higher than our peers that were white, because people looked at us and were more willing to give us the benefit of the doubt. And I know how much my family has suffered, and I can only imagine how much more we would have suffered if we weren't the right skin color as far as this nation is concerned. So, as a white person who comes from a very poor family, I've always felt kind of in an in-between place. I got accepted into communities that were mostly people that were middle class or upper class, people that didn't understand my family's pain, but I also benefited from being accepted in those communities. And this community, I feel like it's kind of an in-between place too. There are so many people that are completely dispossessed, but we also have the university here. And so we have a wide range of people from around the state and around the nation coming through here. And I think right now, it's really clear to say, and certainly what I experienced as a student, is right now there's a big divide. You have students coming through the university that have privilege they don't even understand. Just the fact that they're university students, they get benefit of the doubt that non-university students don't, or people don't get. And I hope that as we move forward as a community to try and tackle this and actually take care of our community, that we find a way to better cross that divide, because I think we could take what is currently, I think, a little bit of a problem, that so many people that come through here are kind of seasonal citizens that don't really consider this place their home. It's just a place they're passing through. They don't give a lot of thought to the community that's supporting them and supporting the university. I'm hoping that we can turn that into a strength. Because so many people from all over Illinois, from rural communities and from Chicago, come through here, and if we can find a way to make part of that university experience understanding this unfortunate truth, and what people hopefully can start to understand at a younger age, hopefully we can kind of circulate these values and these ideas and send students away from the university to their communities and help kind of accelerate this sort of understanding and growing as a community, as in a state, and kind of set that trend. And that's just what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks to VP&J and Carol, everyone who organized this event. I'm Carol Spindell. I'm speaking for the Champaign County ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, and we're pleased to co-sponsor this event tonight. The ACLU is the people's law firm. It has been since the 1920s and has the back of every other activist organizing group in the country. So that's what we try to do, and we feel it's important. There's a movement in Champaign County now to create better facilities for people who are incarcerated. And there's a lot of discussion about services for the mentally ill and how they could have better facilities for those services to be delivered in. But this is not the goal of the American Civil Liberties Union, to create better facilities for the incarcerated. No. Our goal is to change the system so that fewer people are incarcerated.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think that we as citizens have to be alert. We have to be vigilant and think about those paths. What path are people advocating for? Are they advocating for a kind of window dressing path, which would improve the lives of people who are incarcerated? incarcerated, better facilities, that's clear, it would. Or are they advocating for widespread systemic reform that would really change the system in important ways, address the racial disparities and the economic disparities and so on? To do that, we need to reform sentencing laws. We in Champaign County need to sign on to programs like Redeploy Illinois. And unfortunately now, we need to fight the state government to make sure that programs like that are still going to be funded. So at the same time that we're trying to change the system, we have to fight this other battle to see that those programs continue to get funded. So that's kind of a tough thing, but we have to be vigilant, we have to be alert, we have to advocate. We have to push for alternatives like mental health court. Right now, what's one thing people can do? We can advocate for House Bill 218 to be passed. The ACLU supports House Bill 218. Carol Ammons is one of the sponsors. It's not a perfect bill. If we had written it, it would be different, it would be better, but it's a good bill. So please contact, the senators that you know. Please sign petitions. Please make a phone call and write a letter to pass House Bill 218 and decriminalize marijuana. It is a start. Okay, so that's all I want to say. And the important thing is to be engaged and to be here. And thank you all for doing that.
Hello. Also, it's a program that's out there, and then what it does is we work with the incarcerated inmates' children and their families. That's the sponsor right there, in that row. Yes. It's called Ripple Effect. The lunch is Friday, June the 19th. The first meeting is Monday, June the 22nd at Bethel A&B. All are welcome. Ripple Effect means reaching inside with peace and purpose. So if you guys can come out, if you have time, come out, everyone, and try to help us out with reaching to the families, because those are the ones that's affected by it. I left, like I said, 4 children out there, 3 boys and a girl. And luckily, I have one that he got 18 years in prison for shooting someone. I'm not saying that the crime was right, but was the sentence harsh? Yes, of course. So, the interaction with helping, reaching other families. There's a lot of households that needs this help. It's a lot of grandparents that's raising their children, raising their grandkids. Do they need help? Yes, because 9 times out of 10, they're too old to go to the park. Their bones might hurt, or, anything like that. But I'm just saying, reach one to teach one.
Hello. Okay. You were talking earlier about all these statistics that we all know, and I really want to get behind changing the laws and how the courts so they actually work instead they don't work, because the way the system is now, you can't use statistics to prove it's a bad law. And we have to change how the court works, because the system is messed. The discrimination is already in there, because, and I'm losing the thought, but we have to do it in politics, because you can't prove it in the law, because the way the laws are written, if the police didn't say, I don't like you because I'm a racist, you're going to lose, and they're going to get in, you're going to go to jail, and that's wrong.
So yeah, we need an ALEC people.
Sorry.
Just quickly, you all, I wanted to say that along the lines of something that Carol said, first of all, my name is Aaron Ammons. How y'all doing? Alderman Aaron Ammons. I like that title. was told to me recently, because I've done a lot of work around expungement and stuff like that, is that in Belden, you might understand this. Ordinance violations are not expungable. City ordinance violations are not expungable. So sometimes if you, for instance, if you have a choice between a misdemeanor criminal offense or a violation of a city ordinance, it just might be in your best interest to take the misdemeanor as opposed to the city ordinance violation because it is not expungable. It's not, it doesn't make sense. I know.
There's an example of a law that needs to be addressed.
So this is something, so for instance, we have some young people in the house. If you are 25 or younger, stand up please. 25 or younger. Thank you. Lord have mercy, we need to get younger around here. Yes indeed. But how many of you are college students? Right? So if you are, the case that came to my attention was a young person gets arrested for underage drinking. And the parent wants to know, why is this still on my child's record and why can't I get rid of it? Because it was a violation of a city ordinance and it's not expungable. So they couldn't, even their privilege and white skin and stuff like that was not able to get that expunged for them. Esther, yes.
Let's point out, you don't use your driver's license for an underage drinking city ticket, but you can use your driver's license for an underage drinking state offense. So that's one time when the city offense is a better one.
So I'm just trying, I wanted to just share.
Just being in possession.
I just wanted to share that with you all to understand why our vigilance around these particular issues are important, because there's a little bit of information and knowledge that you might have that you might not think is super important, but it may be the very thing that needs to change your bill. So, and lastly, if advocacy, wait, where's Chris? Chris Ammons still here? Chris, what's the slogan that we have for senior citizens? Never underestimate, what's the Margaret Mead statement?
Never underestimate small group of dedicated people. A small group of dedicated and committed people.
Change the world.
Change the world.
Because indeed it's the only thing that ever has. So for 10 years, you all, this small organization of different people from all walks of life met for 10 years at 4 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, I don't forget, every Saturday at the IMC, right? But the change that it brought forth in this community is immeasurable. I dare say that 90% of you sitting in this room right now are sitting here because of the work that that group of people did over the past decade. And how it branched out and different. Now I know that there's some people here who were doing a lot of groundwork long before we got started. But I'm saying the activation of the community and of this small group of people and how it's spread out is extremely important. So don't underestimate how important it is for you to organize. And if the answer is, I don't have time, then what Byron Clark just told me recently is that means it's not a priority. So if it's not a priority for you, then complaining is probably not something that you should do. Okay? Thank you.
Hello, just real quickly, my name is Eloris Nash. I'm a member of the clergy arena, and I'm also involved with Ripple Effect. And I just wanted to say, because I was thinking about a saying, and I can't recall the person who said this, but I think it goes very well with why we're here tonight, building programs and not prisons. It just simply says, and I had to jot it down, it says that progress lies not in enhancing what is, but in advancing toward what will be. And that's what's motivating me and driving me to be involved in these various initiatives, and also to even work on a transition facility for women here in Champaign, well, not in Atlanta, Champaign. And so I wanted to share that because I know you're here because you're interested in, because you want to get involved. But let's inspire and encourage others, because there's never enough. There's so much work to do. I'm reminded of the scripture that talks about the harvest is great, but the laborers are few. And so we can use all the hands we can get and do everything we can do. Thank you.
Hi. Salam. So my name is Patsy, and I've been involved in justice work and anti-racist movement. I'm 68. I just found that out yesterday. Most of my about 5 since I was about 50, so I have some years in. But I wanted to say 2 things, and one thing I wanted to talk about the young black artists that we've seen tonight, and there's more. I mean, there's a whole movement of young black artists. And being in the movement for so many years, in the 60s and 70s, we left us very sterile. I mean, we just got, any other movement you touched, Palestinians, South Africa, everywhere, had a flow, had a heart, had spirituality. And a movement needs that. And I believe that a movement is developing in this country as we speak. And these spoken word, whether it's rap, art, graphic design, whatever these young artists, it's a whole culture, and it's an intricate and very important part of the movement that's developing. It's going to be the heart and the spirituality of the movement. And so I just want to give them another hand. I'm not here. And also, once again, Shasta, raise your hand, Shasta. Shasta's trying to build a studio. I don't know if she knows how. I don't know if she knows where to start. But I told her, among y'all, there may be some technical help, so somebody might have some equipment laying around, something, okay? So, and then the second thing that I wanted to say is that 3 times, did the board members leave? Did the county board members leave? 3 times, I personally went to the board, and other people also went to the board asking for a racial discrepancy committee. This is very important. And we told them how important it was. And we told them what good faith that would show in every town is erupted, every city is erupted. Show good faith. Show that you're looking at that problem. I'm not saying that the board was hostile, but we didn't get it. Other people also talked to them. If anything comes out of this gathering, anything comes out of this event, I hope that those that are interested will join with other people to build this, whether we bombard the county board, whether we build it ourselves. And when we're talking about discrepancies, we're not just talking about, thank you. We're not just talking about young men, unarmed black men and women that's being killed by police. We're talking about across the board. Health care, housing, transportation, every aspect and quality of life is lacking in the community. That's not saying that every African American, my daughter lives in one of those communities. She got some neighbors, okay, in that gated community. But we know, and then everybody can say, we know this. We know that there's discrepancies. But we have to document, we have to get media, we have to get credibility, and we have to expose this. And everybody's talking about the rise in shooting in the North End. Young people shooting each other. They just out of hand. It wasn't like that when I was young, no. Young people shoot each other because they ain't got no hope. They ain't got the aspirations for the future or an education. There's no hope. It's the same reason you got suicide bombers in Palestine. When you've got high rates of unemployment and a young person can't see where their future is going, they don't mind dying and they don't mind killing somebody. So we need to get on this, and we need to get on this fast. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Hi, we didn't get a chance to tell you about our next meeting. We encourage everyone to come to this general meeting. It's on May 14th at 6:30 p.m. at INC. We really encourage everyone to come there with their ideas. We want to have basically 3 different committees dealing with different issues that face us and the solution that we can find for those issues and problems. One is what Patsy referred to was racial disparity topic. The other one is the pre-trial programs that we can have and re-entry program that the first followers mentioned. And within each of these categories, there are like subcategories that you can think about and brainstorm solutions. So I do encourage everyone to participate in these programs. And also, I think you have a, I say one other thing, and then which doesn't have to do with this announcement, which is, you know, when we talk about all these problems that our society has in general, to me, all kind of goes back to this fundamental problem we have in our society, which is cultural problem. And we need a cultural revolution to be able to face up to the racial problems, to the wars that we go to, and to the fact that we have such a short span of attention. And all of this has to be addressed. Otherwise, you know, we see the majority of the white people really ignoring what is going on and what is happening to minorities, especially young black men, but also women. So I think, you know, this is the hardest thing to do, I guess, but I think this is something that we have to strive towards. And please come to our meeting.
Okay, I just want to reiterate that that's 6:30 p.m. May 14th. It's a Thursday evening. We usually have the meetings twice a month, the week before and the week after county board meetings, so we don't do it at the same time. Also, when you came in, almost everybody, I think, signed in. If you didn't, we'd really like to have your email address so that we can send you notices of the meetings and send you other information. And there were some groups that you could sign up to show your interest in. The one that didn't get anybody signing was what's called pre-trial services, and that's probably because who knows what that means. That basically means that if somebody is being arrested, what is done to determine whether they even are taken down to be booked at the jail, whether or not they are out on bail, whether they, you know, a lot of other things that might be going on before trial that have a major impact on their lives going forward, and also an impact on whether they end up getting convicted. So that's what pretrial services is about. If that sparks your interest, you still have a chance to sign up for it. And you've seen those of us who stood up to talk a little bit, were involved in some of the planning. Christina Kahn, who's down there, you raise your hand, is another one of our major people. Ron Kester, who's around some place, hiding by where the camera was. And John Friesen also did some of the planning. We look forward to seeing you at 6:30 p.m. on May 14th at the IMC. Thank you.
Quite a while, so patiently.
Hello, good evening. I have worked or had the privilege to work with a lot of the homeless population in our community by working through Courage Connection, formerly known as the Center for Women in Transition. And through that program, they are allotted certain spaces for inmates that are paroling, and they can come there and they don't have any place to go, or they could choose to not return to the environment in which they found adverse to where they're trying to go. So a lot of them came to the homeless shelter, and a lot of the challenges for some of those women were because they had felonies, re-entering and getting work, being able to find employment, or being able to get funding for school, depending on what it is that they were arrested for. And it just seemed for a lot of them a continuous cycle, and seeing their frustration with trying to better themselves, improve themselves, but meeting these roadblocks, and then them trying to determine, am I going to keep doing or moving forward, trying to better myself, or am I going to resort back to what I'm used to and possibly finding themselves in prison again? And even for the women who hadn't been in prison, just the levels of poverty that they were at and not having a place to stay, it didn't really leave a lot of hope options for them, and just seeing their frustration with that as well. So I feel like just addressing the simple and basic needs of people will start to reduce the population of people that are committing those crimes to go to prison. Like when you have children and they cry, you just kind of go through a checklist of, are they fed? Do they need to be changed? Have I helped them? And these are basic things that we do from birth. And I feel like as a country, we have to go back to those basic things of, have we fed people? Have we nurtured people? Have we provided their housing? Have we provided those things that allow people to be able to thrive? If you're stressing out about where you're going to stay, if you're stressing out about where you're going to eat, if you're stressing out about, do you have a job? These things affect your mental health, they affect your everyday living, they affect your quality of life, and they affect the decisions that you make on a daily basis. And for a lot of people, a life of crime is what they resort to because they don't see another way out. So I feel like we have to go back to kind of babying each other as a culture, just to make sure we're running that checkpoint of, are we meeting our essential needs before we start looking elsewhere. So that's what I think.
Thank you. Is there anybody else before we close out?
Danielle Chenoweth, and I appreciate those who have stayed this long. I think I'd like to just end on a note of victory, which is, so I'm one of the co-founders of CU Citizens for Peace and Justice. I was Carol's campaign manager in the primary. I do know a few things about winning, and I'd like to say that CUCPJ, since we founded it now 11 years ago, we win stuff. We win stuff every single year, and we continue to win stuff. We stopped the jail expansion. We will stop this jail expansion again. And so I want to encourage you all. I think one of the things we deal with is this cynicism that is media-created cynicism that we can't do anything. And so to see, look like about 15 people under the age of 25 here, to see people, Muslim, Christian, atheist, to see black and white, young and old, it is so heartening because this is actually what community looks like, right? And I just want to let you know, we can't do this, okay? We've done it before. No one said Carol Ammons would state rep, right? We were outspent 10-1 in the primary, okay? And yet we had over 1,000 volunteers. The other person had to pay people to walk the streets for him, okay? And it was because we had 1,000 volunteers that she can stand in front of you today and talk about passing legislation election, she passed her first bill in her first 100 days. That's like, no one, I haven't heard of that before. So I just want to instill in you all some hope that actually if we come together, if you sign up, if we stay in touch, if we work together, if you find your peace, whether it's childcare, cooking a meal, giving a foot rub to Carol, I've done that before, or speaking at the city council, we all have a piece to play, and I just want to encourage you to stay in touch.
We're about to close out. I just want to give shouts out to the Bill Programs Not Jails for putting this event together. Champaign County ACLU, Champaign County NAACP, First Followers Re-Entry Program, Peace and Service Committee of Friends, and a definitely special shout out to Jamil Bridgewater for artwork for the publicity of the event. Excellent work. And thank you for Carol Ammons for joining us tonight. Thank you all for coming out. You all have a very safe night. And let's continue to build on this. Thank you.